Thank you for joining us today on Your Elevated Space, where we talk all about how to transform our spaces to improve our lives in the area of money, relationships, and overall well-being. Over the course of 21 days, my guest and I are here to show you how you can gain happiness and clarity through intentional art and design. And today we are here with Mr. Jim Molinelli, who is the author and mastermind behind the book Remodel Without Going Bonkers or Broke, which has been a #1 bestseller on Amazon for 3 straight years. So impressive. And today we're going to talk all things renovation. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Leann. Glad to be here.
Thank you. So I know that you started your career in architecture. Is that right?
Yes, I had decided to be an architect when I was a little guy. I don't know if it was playing with Legos and erector sets and building blocks that did it, but I went to architecture school out of high school and never slowed down, got a bachelor's, a master's, went to work, got my license, and later did a PhD also in architecture. So yeah, through and through, I decided to be an architect. The difference is that I realized halfway through that process that I wasn't a really good architect because every time I would design a home addition for somebody or a major remodel for somebody, the price would come in about 50% too high. And it would break dreams. You know, people invest. They say, I have 80,000 to do a project. And it comes in at 120 and it's a no-go. And everybody's heart is broken. They thought they were going to live the dream. Instead, they're just crying about it. And I knew that that was my fault for not being able to estimate and design accurately. So I decided rather than to keep being an architect at one point, to just get into remodeling long enough to learn how to estimate and how to design to a budget. So I was a better architect.
I see. And so you've really made that your mission in life now. And, you know, obviously through your book to kind of get that message out and, you know, how to handle a renovation, because it's usually something that people don't have to take on very frequently, right? Over the course of their lives.
Yeah, that's true. Some people are serial renovators. They'll do project after project, but others will do a major project once, maybe in a decade, maybe in a lifetime. So yeah, it's quite possible that somebody could be my client one time and one time only and never lift the phone to do another thing other than have, you know, a handyman come in for painting or repairs.
Sure. So, you know, obviously you had some experience working with, you know, clients of yours and kind of uncovering some of the typical, you know, common pitfalls or challenges that people were, you know, experiencing. So, you know, how did that inspire you to kind of change course there?
When I was an architect and my first years in the trade, as I was getting my license and learning the ropes, we were on the one side of the equation. We were on the design side of the equation, and there was always a contractual back and forth with the contractor, you know, the remodeler. And the architect and the owner were bound by a legal agreement, and the owner and the contractor were bound by a legal agreement, but the architect and the remodeler were often at odds. And of course, the architect, the contracts that they used put the architect in a position of superiority in terms of saying, no, it will be this way. So I saw the remodeling world first from the point of view of an architect and later from the point of view of a remodeler. And of course, having had clients from both directions, I understood and could empathize with them from both sides. And so what's happened in my career as it evolved is I take the design and the architecture part and I take the contracting part and I smush them together and I say, how can I best inform homeowners about the process, the good and the bad of it, the pitfalls of it, the joys of it, and help them smooth that road out so that they can successfully achieve what they started with in terms of a vision.
Mm-hmm. So, you know, over the course of your experience, do you find that there are certain principles that you've really uncovered that really work well for folks, a certain process that folks should follow that really, you know, ensure that they end up with a finished project that they're happy with, that falls within their budget, that even might fall into the time frame that they're expecting to, you know, all of those things.
Absolutely. At every point in the process, from the minute that you first have that idea, I think we're going to remodel the kitchen, or I think we're going to remodel the bathroom. Mm-hmm. You're so excited and elated, and you think of possibilities, and you're smiling all the time, and you're looking at pictures on Pinterest or on Houzz or somewhere in magazines, and you're just caught up in that enthusiasm. But somewhere, doubt begins to creep in. Can I handle this? What do I do? Who do I call? Why do I call them? Why wouldn't I call that person instead? Who should I ask? Oh, I know. I'll ask my girlfriends on Facebook, or I'll ask the group. I'm in a community group. Somebody must have had some. And so you're off to the races in some direction because you recognize that you don't have enough information, and yet you're asking strangers who don't have the same information that you have. Mm-hmm. And so you get off on the wrong foot and on the wrong track, and success is a coin flip in those cases. So the thing that I've learned that people need most is proper preparation, and nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to take on responsibility for the success or failure of the project. But ultimately, when you're the homeowner, the question is this: who benefits if they get it right? You do. Mm-hmm. Who fails to benefit if it goes wrong? You. So ultimately, unless you are able to communicate to the team of professionals what your vision is and what your goals and objectives are and what your budget is, then how will they know what success looks like for you?
I love that. So I don't know, I don't remember if we got too much into detail about this in our first conversation, but my husband has been working on project management for over a decade now, pretty much in every state, Canada, Australia. So he's done a lot of these types of projects, commercial scale. And he gave me some advice as far as, you want to think about when you're hiring someone, you almost want to consider them as an employee in a way, because you're going to be essentially paying them a salary's worth of pay, and they're going to be around for quite a while, right?
Yes.
Considering, yes, what are your thoughts on that?
That's exactly the principle that I teach in the book and in my classes, is to take on the mindset of the boss. All right. Everybody can envision the person who has that corner office and the big desk and credenza, and somebody outside the door who stops all the visitors and phone calls from getting through. And that person is who you have to see yourself as. Mm-hmm. If you're an owner of a business and you're about to open a brand new venture within the company, but you don't have the ability, the time, the expertise to run it yourself, you're going to hire for that particular venture. And before you put out an ad and bring in applicants, you're going to have a conversation with yourself or your team. What expertise do they need? How much experience do they need? What qualifications do they have to have? What are we willing to pay them? What are the job requirements we're going to place on them? What are the time constraints we're going to place on them? Mm-hmm. All of these things are put together before a business ever posts the ad that says help wanted. Mm-hmm. And that's what the homeowner has to do before they place an ad that says, would you come and talk to me about my project? Because when they show up, you have to be able to hand them that package of information that says, this is what I'm after. If you don't hand them that packet of information, guess what happens? They take control of the meeting. They start asking questions. And now you're answering questions and following their trail. And it could lead any place. But it's not leading to what you have defined as success.
Absolutely. I love that so much. So when you're, I think you had mentioned something about, correct approaches versus current approaches. Can you explain a little bit more about what you meant by that?
Well, yeah, let's just hypothetically brainstorm what people would do to start. I gave you one example, and that is they're smart enough to know what they don't know, and so they're going to go ask other people. The problem is the other people they go ask are generally the wrong other people. They're going to ask people at the club or people in the lunch group or people at work or friends and neighbors who have had work done. And each project is unique. The kitchen that you would redo, if you redid yours today, would be very, very different than the person who has the identical floor plan and lives three places, 3 doors down, because their circumstance, their budget, their needs are different than yours. And so both of you very well might need a different type of design. Both of you very well may need a different type of contractor according to what your wishes are. And yet, if you go ask random strangers, who should I hire? And they just say, oh, we used ABC and we used XYZ. And that may be great. And their experience may have been perfect, but that was perfect for them at a different time on a different project. So everybody's circumstance is unique, and they should start with my needs. Be selfish about it. What do I want? What do I need? What will I pay to get it? And then start that process. Don't bring people in until you're prepared. Doesn't mean you know everything. It doesn't mean you've made all the choices. It just simply means that the chewy caramel center of the project is pretty well understood before you talk to architects, contractors, and so forth.
Yeah, so I think
that's one way. The second way is also a cop-out, and that is, we see TV commercials all the time for the we'll do all the legwork for you. You know, call us up and sign up on our website, and we'll send you 4 pre-qualified remodelers that are experts, and they're totally safe, and they'll take care of you. Well, it sounds good to the homeowner, and it absolves them of responsibility once again. And the same bad things can still happen, however. The quality of the remodelers may be a slight notch above what you would have gotten by asking friends and neighbors or people on Facebook, but they're still not perfectly matched to your exact needs. And so again, in about 30 minutes of teaching, I can help the homeowner understand the reasons why they want to lay the foundation for the project themselves, because they are the ultimate person who's got to live with that project and benefit from that project. And nobody else can see your vision unless you give it to them. Otherwise, you're living their vision. So it has to start a different way than we've always started it. And I think what happens many times is that homeowners will simply say, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm going to call an expert and get advice, and that will help me make the right decisions. But they're still making that first call randomly or blindly. And the expertise of that individual, or the specialization of that individual, the quality of that individual is an unknown. And so it's a coin flip. And I hate to see people gamble. If you want to throw away money, go to a casino and place your bets there. But the kind of money that people spend on remodeling today needs to be invested. You need to come out of it with a product that you love, an experience that you enjoyed, and something that will inspire you and leave you proud to show it off to friends and neighbors for years.
So if, you're obviously not suggesting that folks, go to their neighbor, go to their relative, because everyone is so unique in what their needs are, right?
Well, the reason is because remodelers are a little bit of you remember the Wizard of Oz, the guy behind the curtain? That's the way remodelers are. There's a curtain hanging between the public and the remodelers. And what's behind the curtain would surprise people. It's very, very much like doctors. Doctors all have specializations. And while they all went to medical school and they all studied the same human body, if you're having pains in your head, you don't go see a foot doctor. And if you're having an elbow pain, you don't see an internist. You go to somebody who actually has some degree of expertise in the exact field that you need. So if you need to remodel a kitchen, you don't go to a handyman, and you don't go to a remodeler who's excellent at basements, and you don't go to a specialization, somebody who does one-room additions or decks. You go to people who do 50% or more kitchens. And only that, because those people have seen the problems, have dealt with the problems on a daily basis for years. And nothing's going to fool them. Nothing's going to surprise them. Their prices are going to be more accurate. And you're going to get somebody who's a much higher level of expertise and will ultimately help you make better decisions and get a better product.
So really honing in on that specialty.
Yeah, so really I rip the curtain aside and I show people how to identify out of the pool of remodelers the handful of types that would actually be suitable for the project they're about to embark on, and the way to approach those folks. Because if you can hook yourself up with the right remodeler, you get the right results. You cannot get the right results with the wrong remodeler. It just doesn't happen.
That's true. So you work one-on-one with clients when they're looking to renovate and making sure that they're, following the process correctly and finding the right match for them.
30 years, I either worked one-on-one with them as an architect and or a remodeler. And now I teach it, online classes in the book and what have you. So I've done it live. I've taught them live, and I still do occasionally, but I teach it online because so many more people need the answers to the question, who should I hire and why? How do I find the ideal remodeler? How do I choose him? If I've got 3 or 4 to consider, how do I interview and end up with the best one? And then how do I negotiate with them? These are very easy questions for people to ask and very easy questions to answer. And so it takes this very confusing, mystical process. And like you said earlier, it kind of breaks it down. The book especially breaks it down step by step by step. So you have an idea, and I take you all the way to signing a remodeling contract. Because once you sign the contract and a remodeler begins to do their work, very little changes. You can change the color of the walls and the tile on the backsplash and some minor things like that. But realistically, the project is already set in motion. Think of a bowler. Once they release the ball and it's on the way down the alley, the result is ordained. It's going to hit the pins and hit them right, or it isn't. But there's not a lot you can do after the fact. So it's really upfront that all the heavy lifting is done. Okay.
And obviously, keeping everything outlined so that they know what they're held to as far as the standard goes and what the scope of work is.
And how you have to set up the list that says, my project is not a success unless I get this, 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 and this. I need to have those. Those are my absolutes. If I don't get them, then the project is off. We're not doing it. And, oh, by the way, this is what I'm willing to pay to get that. Now, homeowners do not have a realistic expectation of what the real prices are in the real world, but that does not mean that you don't set a budget. Okay. Right. A budget is what you are both able and willing to pay to accomplish that list of needs. And the truth is, if you're only able and willing to pay a certain amount, then you may have to go back and modify the list, or you may have to wait until you can put together some more money, or you may have to borrow some money to get to the right number. But the fact is, you still define the needs and the absolutes first, and then you set a budget, and then you begin the process. And if you find the right remodeler, they become a team player. You're trying to build a team of professionals who all have the same vision, share the same vision, and have the same goal. And when you find that, it really does become a much more joyful, exciting experience.
So that's really what it should be, right?
Yes, absolutely.
If it's done it correctly.
Sure. You should get what you expected. You should get it for a price that you expected. You should get it in a timely fashion, and it should meet or exceed every expectation that you had. I mean, that's how it should be.
I love that. So you find across the board, generally speaking, that isn't the case, or what are your thoughts on that?
Because people start and they make a couple of the critical mistakes. I've identified 3 basic mistakes that people make. They start underprepared or unprepared. And you really can't do anything if you don't know what you're trying to do. Think about this. Many people will spend more time and effort if they're about to go buy a new refrigerator or vacuum cleaner, researching the options and the features and the details on an item that's priced, between $300 and $3,000 than they will on a $30 or $70 or $100,000 remodel. On a $100,000 remodel, I watch people go on Facebook and say, who should I call? And it just blows me away, because they could, if they get the right person, then they've won the lottery, and they'll get a result that's good and they'll be happy. But it only goes down from there. It doesn't get better than that. And if you're going to spend $30,000 or $50,000 or more, shouldn't you get a project that not only meets all those needs, but is custom designed and custom built around you and your family and your goals? That's what you should get, not just the bare bones, but something that's special and unique.
I love that. I know that you had touched upon negotiations, and I don't know if you want to get into that, if you have much to say about it. What are your thoughts on that, really?
Well, the way most people negotiate is one of two things. They don't, for fear or for not knowing how or what have you, or they say things like, well, I think you've got to sharpen your pencil. Okay. And basically what they're asking the contractor to give something up, and they are willing to give nothing up in return. And honestly, from having been on the side of the contractor for many years, my response to that is, if I say the job is 92,000 and you say, can we do it for 85? I'll say, can we do it for 97? And you'll go, wait a minute, I just asked for 85 down from 92. I said, I heard you, and I just raised it to 97. I think that's fair. And they'll go, what? And I say, we're negotiating, right? And I go, oh, no. They realize how silly it is. I'll say, I'll bring it down from 92 to 85 if we take this piece out, or if we take that piece out, or if we don't do this other thing over here. But you're asking me to do the same amount of work and give away $7,000 or $8,000, $10,000. How can I afford to do that? That's my entire profit margin and more.
I agree.
So asking for too much or asking in a trite or silly or goofy way is weird. So yes, I try to teach people how they can get the remodeler to say yes to their request. You get one opportunity to ask. There's one perfect time to ask. And I try to help them understand that situation. And there are three techniques that I've found that help you get something better than what was offered. Now, whether that's a better price and the same offer, or whether that's a better offer at the same price, that's up to you. What is your need? Is your need a little bit more project? Maybe in the course of going through things, the budget wasn't big enough, right? And you had to omit something, let's say a window seat. So you come down to the end and you go to the remodeler and you say, rather than ask you to reduce the price, like anybody else in this seat would probably do, I'm going to ask you to, I'm going to offer to pay the exact price that we've agreed upon. What I would like you to do is, if I sign today, put that window seat back in the project for me. And so now you have given them an opportunity to say yes to a signed contract, or to say no and feel bad about it. And if they feel bad about it and have to say no because you've asked for too much, at least you will expect them to come back with a counteroffer. Listen, I'll build you the window seat. You pay for the windows, my cost, and I'll pay for the labor. How's that? And you go, okay. Now you've put something back into the contract that had been removed for financial reasons, but you've gotten a deal. You made your entire package a little better, the whole project, and you held the line on price. If you want to get the price down, I can teach you a couple of ways to try to get the price down, but you have to realize that they're after about 10 or 11, 12% profit margin. And in a $50,000 job, that's $5,000. So, if you ask them to take $3,000, $4,000 off the price, they're going to say no. If they can say yes, they were cheating you to begin with.
Absolutely.
Do you understand?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
So no, you have to understand how people work and what they're working for. And if you try to steal their profit, they're not going to be very cooperative in negotiating. So there are some techniques, but it's trying to round out and get the best deal. Then there's another topic, saving money, which is a whole different topic, because that starts from the day you start planning your project. You can start saving money the day you start making decisions. And that's a whole different issue than the final negotiation just before you sign. It's very interesting. I love remodeling, and I love helping people get everything they can get for a price that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I love the event that you're doing, because it's all about helping folks enjoy their home, enjoy their lives more.
Mm-hmm.
My thing is, when you improve your home, you improve your life. That's the bottom line of why I do what I do, and I honestly believe that. I have so many people that are architecture clients and remodeling clients, and people who have bought the book or taken my classes that have all come back and said those same kinds of things, like, we're so thrilled. I asked a woman for a testimonial one time. I said, could I come by and maybe talk to you about getting a testimonial, shooting a little video? And she said, absolutely. She said, I got to tell you, every morning I walk into my new kitchen, I fall in love with it all over again.
Oh, I love that.
That's what everybody who remodels should aspire to. That's the result that everybody should have.
Mm-hmm. I agree. And it makes such a difference. I mean, every single day that you wake up and you love what you see, it just impacts your relationships at home, your relationships out in the world, your success, your health.
Yeah. If you come down the stairs or down the hallway and you walk into that room and all you can do is shake your head and smile, what a great way to start a meal or a day, right?
Absolutely.
I've had people say, we had 20 people over for Thanksgiving and nobody wanted to leave.
Oh, wow.
What's
good or bad?
That's great. So, no, I love that idea. And that's of course what I see as success. When I start working with anybody, whether it's a student or a client, I have that vision of success, that in 2 or 3 years they go, I'm so glad we did this project.
Absolutely. It just, it makes me feel so good. I love meeting people like you that share the same vision as I do. And
it's part of the payoff, right? I mean, you're not getting 100% of your money back in most cases, contrary to what you see on the TV flipping shows. Unless you buy a piece of crap and you only bring it up to market standard. If you have a real house and you're investing real money to do a real project in it, you're going to pay more than it's worth.
That's true.
Okay, your kitchen's going to be worth $35,000 or $40,000 increase to your home value. You're going to pay $50,000 or $55,000 to get it done. There's a portion that doesn't get covered. Well, that portion is paid back in that every morning you wake up and you look at it and you go, wow, this is so great. I love this room. That's the payback. And if you can get 5 or 10 or 15 years of that payback, you're living a good life.
That's a great point, is to really hit on that sweet spot where I think a lot of times people will wait for the right time. And then by the time they're ready to sell, they're going to go and remodel and they don't even enjoy what they've invested in.
The right time is as soon as you've made the decision that an improvement would make an improvement in our lives. An improvement in our home would improve our lives. And it could be need. It could be we need an additional bedroom because we have too many kids in the last bedroom. Or it could be that the kitchen is 35 years old and the dishwasher finally broke and the floor is keeping it from being pulled out to be swapped. And so let's do the kitchen. Whatever it is, whatever prompts that first thought, that's the time. Whether the budget allows, whether the timing is perfect for it, we don't know. Each person is unique and each process is a little bit different. But that's the right time, because the longer you get to enjoy it after the fact, the higher the payback.
Absolutely. And what do you think, what's your recommendation as far as, is there a recommendation as far as how frequently folks should, look to renovate, or, is it just based on, how they feel and what their desires are? What do you think?
Well, I think it's being self-aware and home aware. people who can do that can look at their life and say, my life would benefit by having this change. For instance, let's say that you bought a home and you accepted it for what it was because it was available at the right price at the time you needed to move to the area. But the master bathroom really featured this unbelievably large built-in tile enclosed soaking tub, and you're a shower person. And so like 20 square feet of your bathroom is this monstrosity that you essentially don't use. And boy, if you could have a shower that size, you'd be like King Midas. Everything would be golden, right? So the right time to consider doing that bathroom is as soon as it's feasible. So that's the reality. Sometimes it's motivated by need. Sometimes it's motivated by desire. There are a lot of reasons why we remodel. Sometimes it's because we can and I want it. Sometimes it's an emergency. A water heater broke, a tree limb fell and crashed through the roof, and things have to happen. So you might as well take advantage of that and do what you can do. But it's that kind of a thing. Whatever inspires you to get started, don't ignore it.
Okay. And then if people are looking to prepare for this, I mean, how is it measured in, length of time that they spend on doing the research to find the right team, or are there's obviously certain steps that you recommend to kind of get to the end result?
Sure. If you're going to do this right, you're going to put together a short list of qualified people, and then you're going to bring them all in after you're ready with a packet of information to hand them all. And you're going to bring them in and you're going to say, okay, do they really live up to these standards that I sort of prejudged them to have? And now you're interviewing them, trying to get the other intangibles. How is my relationship with them? What's the rapport like? Would I want to work with them? Do I like them? Do they listen to me and see my vision, or are they bulldozing me and telling me how they would like to do it? So you get a feel for the people on the other side of the equation. And if you think back to our first question, it was be the boss mindset. Well, if you're still in that big desk in the corner office looking at the employee that you're going to hire to run this new enterprise that you're starting up, you don't need somebody who's drives the bulldozer. You need somebody who's trying to ask the probing questions and understand the nuances of what it is you're trying to accomplish, and trying to see the tumblers come together about how they can help you make that happen. When they get on your team and invest in your vision and get enthusiastic about your project, now you've got somebody that's worth talking to. So you have to throw out the guys that give you the EBGB and start to figure out which is the best of the rest, and who do you want to partner up with and work on this thing with. And it's not that hard. It takes a little work. It's not hard work. You have to allot a couple of hours to each interview to be thorough and careful. And then you're going to, in many cases, have designs done. And then they're going to come back and you're going to have to review the designs and the prices that go with them, the proposals that go with them. So it's not a fast process in many cases. But you're going to spend those 3 or 4 or 5 hours with each of the successful candidates. So you don't want to go in with 6 or 8 or 10 names. You want to go in, your list can have that many on it just in case, because if you start running into bad eggs and throw them out, you want to have a couple of others ready to pull into the process. But really you want to get 1 or 2 or 3 that are really trustworthy. If you're picking from excellent prospects, you're going to work with an excellent prospect, right?
So true.
And if they're not in the list, if an excellent prospect is not on the list, then no matter who you choose, you're working with somebody less than the best.
That's right.
So taking the time and the care to get the list right and get the interviews right is beneficial. It's not as hard as you think. It is beneficial though. And that's the second major mistake people make is 1, they go in unprepared or underprepared, and 2, they take the wrong remodelers. They pick the wrong people.
And why do you think that is?
I think people don't know what they're doing. and they just ultimately feel a pressure to make a choice, whether the pressure comes from their mind, whether the pressure comes from their spouse, whether the pressure comes from their remodeler. Okay, we've done 3 designs. Are you ready to do this? Or I did everything you've asked for. Are you going to sign now? And ultimately, I think that there's a saving face. They don't want to look bad to their friends, their neighbors, their family, I think there's a lot of pressure around this. And so I try to rip all that away and take that kind of emotion away and replace it with the joy of doing it and doing it well and achieving something together with a good team that's out for your best interest.
Love it. I think that this is obviously so relevant because we're spending so much time in our homes right now and probably looking around at what we now know 24/7. We know what needs to be fixed now. And so this is it's just such a helpful thing that you're offering to people. And, I think too, just historically, I think people are staying in place a lot longer than, as compared to buying, new construction or, moving around. I think people are looking to kind of stay put and be comfortable and, work with what they have a lot of times. So
yeah, I imagine that's different for different industries and different areas of the country, but
that is true.
I do see that kids going out of high school and into either training programs or colleges, they're willing to bounce around and move around where things come up. But I think once we marry and have families, we're looking for a little more stability and a little bit more stick-to-itiveness. And yes, if you're going to buy a place that somebody else built or was somebody else's design, and you're going to say, okay, I can work with that, that's good for a few years. But generally speaking, within 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, people have had enough time in that house to know, you know what, I can live with most of it, but this is the thing I can't live with, or that's the thing I can't live with. And so they start tinkering. And I think that what you've said is during this pandemic and the stay-at-home time we've had, we've all been able to look really hard at how we use our homes and how well they suit us. And if we had the money and the inclination, I bet we can come up with 1 or 2 things we'd like to work on.
I agree. I mean, so let's say, I'm sure there are people listening right now that are like, okay, I know exactly what I want to change. So where do they even start? Do they start with their budget? Do they start, gaining information to figure out even what things would cost? Or
the first 4 steps, I've broken down the beginning of the process into creating a project packet. And the reason is because I was standing in a woman's sunroom and she said, this is not what I envisioned. And I was like, this is everything she ever wanted. Every box was checked. It was a gorgeous sunroom. She spent a lot of money on it. And we both looked around and every feature she asked for was there. And she said, this is not what I envisioned. And I'm like, I was floored. And ultimately, things worked out just fine. She explained what she meant. We dealt with it. She was very happy. But what it told me was communication was the number 1 problem in construction, in remodeling, is that I was talking features and she was talking emotions. She was looking for a feeling. She was looking for a thought. And I was asking her, how about these windows? How about this floor? How about this particular circle window and a vaulted ceiling and these kind of lights? And all of that was just right. But what she was trying to find was something else. And I realized that her communication with me and my communication with her wasn't there. She wasn't well enough prepared and I wasn't smart enough to dig and get all the pieces I needed to give her the perfect solution the first time. And so what I did from that moment was to come up with this strategy of putting together what I call a project packet. Now, at first, I did it for clients because if I'm doing the remodeling, I'm going to draw that information out of you until I have the pieces so that when I show you a project, I show you the plan and the 3-dimensional images, you go, oh my gosh, that's perfect. I couldn't have come up with that in 1,000 years. And because I put my skill and my ability to put your needs together in a creative way that strikes your fancy. So, but if you don't hire the ideal remodeler who has somebody who has that same devotion to pulling that out of you, you've got to be able to hand it to them. And that's the whole lot easier way to go, is if you can say, this is what I want. Okay. This project packet is made up of 6 pieces. Okay. The first piece is an elevator pitch. It's very basic, 30 to 45 second description of the entire scope of work. It is not, I want to remodel my kitchen. Because I want to remodel my kitchen or I want to remodel my hallway bathroom tells everybody nothing. Nobody understands what that means. We get the right room of the house. That's all we get out of it. What do you really want out of your kitchen? What are you planning to do? What do you envision? Is there going to be an island or a peninsula? Will there be seating and eating at that island or peninsula? Will there be a separate table for kibitzing or for eating? How many people will be at that table? What size table is it? How are you going to store your dry goods? How are you going to store your refrigerated goods, your frozen goods? How are you going to cook? Is it on 4 burners? Is it on 6 burners? Is it electric or gas? Is it a cooktop with wall ovens or is it an oven, a range? These things begin to tell everybody who's going to help you more and more and more about your kitchen. In other words, you're now putting your vision into my head. You make some of those decisions. You put that together in a short synopsis, and I go, I get it. I get it. Oh, I'm going to blow out a wall, and I'm going to combine my dining room and my kitchen together into one large eat-in area. Okay, I get it. I'm with you. I see it. So, elevator pitch. Second is a need list. As we talked about earlier, if I cannot get these specific things accomplished, I will not do the job. Needless. Got to have them. Okay. If I don't get them, no sense going any further. Then a wish list. Not everything's a need, right? An island may be a wish or it may be a need. A table or a way to eat is a need in every case. Now, if you're willing to replace the table with the island because you also have a dining room table 20 feet away and you also have another eating table on the porch 20 feet away, then you don't need a third table. Okay, great. Then the island seating may work for you. Somebody else will say, oh no, I don't want any seating at the island. I want a table in my kitchen. That's great. That's a need for them. Okay. So everybody has different needs. Everybody has different wishes. And in the wish department, you may say, I need a countertop, but I sure wish it was silestone. Okay. Quartz. So, you know, the reality is that maybe you can, the budget works with granite, you know, a price group 1 or price group 2 granite, but it may not work with silestone or quartz. And that's a decision we won't know until down the road. But if it's on the need list, I have to build it into the price immediately. If it's on the wish list, I can build in something that works and we can decide whether or not you can upgrade to that, step up to it later. So we'll get the price difference. So elevator pitch, need list, wish list, budget. Budget is what you're able and willing to pay. Some people are able to pay a lot more than they're willing to pay. And if you're not willing to pay it, don't put it in the budget. Just because you have it doesn't mean you should spend it. So if you set a hard cap of $40,000 for some project, that's great. That's what you're able and willing to pay. That's your budget. Now I go into a lot more depth on budget when I teach this or in the book, because how you set a budget's important. Whether you take loans, interest rates, timing of who's paying your contractor, right? Is the bank paying them or are you paying them? Contractors price jobs differently if the money's coming from different places. You need to know that.
That's interesting.
Right? You also need to know what things really cost and what their value really is. And I give sources for that. So there's a lot around that need list, wish list, budget. And then the next part is the part that most people fear, and that's organizing everything, keeping track of all the decisions, all the selections, all the items, all the features. I put that all together in a table with my clients, and I show them how to update that and manage it so that it can become their one-stop, everything goes here location, so that they're never without the answer. And when you turn that over to your architect or to your remodeler later, then they see exactly what you have selected and what you haven't selected. They understand where you are in the process, and they can get running much more accurately and much more quickly. And then the final set of stuff is just some incidentals, homeowner associations, plot plans, other little odds and ends that may or may not go in. If you've already chosen your range and your range hood and you have the manufacturer sheets for that, slide them in there, that kind of thing. So that's the project packet. And if when your contractors come waltzing through the door, you say, that's what I want. Everything's right there. They're like, holy crap. You're so well prepared. This is amazing.
I know. But I was going to say, they must love your clients.
They do. It shortcuts everything.
Absolutely. And communication is really key through any type of project. You're going to be working as a team. It's an ongoing thing day to day. And you just want to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And, it just makes for a much more comfortable situation for everyone involved. And
yeah,
I just love what you're doing. I'm so amped right now, Jim. I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much.
Oh, I'm excited. This is fun, and this is perfect. I love reaching out and helping homeowners understand that this is not some mystical process, and it's not magic. It is just ordinary, everyday stuff, and there's thousands and thousands and thousands of excellent people out there that are waiting to work with people just like you. They got in business just to do the kind of project that it is that you want to do. So don't fear that you'll get the wrong person. Learn how to find the right person and do it.
I love that. I love that. So you've been so nice to offer a free gift to our listeners. Yes?
Yes. This project packet that I just explained, I have a project startup workbook that I will give to everybody who wants to go on the website and grab it. No charge. And the project startup workbook is those first 6 steps to creating a beautiful and successful renovation. And it includes worksheets for each of those items, the elevator pitch description, the need list, wish list, budget, the room by room analysis, and so forth. And so that's right there. It's, I don't know what, 17 pages or something, but it's a PDF they can get. Go on the website, jimmolinelli.com/free gift. And anybody who's watched your series can go on there and get it at any time.
Thank you so much. I know we all appreciate that. You're going to make a lot of people very happy.
It's a great way to go.
Thank you, Jim. Well, I hope you all enjoyed this discussion as much as I did. And I just want to encourage you to join Jim's community. Definitely visit his website. And, for now, if you're looking to embark on a renovation, definitely jot down all of the main takeaways that you got from this discussion. I know there's been a lot. Grab that worksheet there, the workbook, and be sure to join me tomorrow for our next expert discussion. I look forward to seeing you guys then.